Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Here's the deal.
We begin today with the story of Ambarisha. Again, it looks like a lot of good kings lived in those days successively. We had a very righteous king, very devoted to God, and therefore ruling his country with dharma. Dharma, remember? All the time, not looking at his own personal gains ever, but only for the good of the country. He and his wife would maintain upavas. I purposely do not use the word fasting. Fasting suggests pain to me. I don't know about you. How do you, isn't it so? The word fasting looks as if we are torturing ourselves by not eating. Whereas the word upavas, meaning living close to. Upa means near, vas means to live. Live near to what? To food. To the divine. All the time thinking of the divine. Now, what is the difference? The difference is this. Let us take an example. What is it that engrosses your interest maximum in your life? Some game or dance or what is it? Other than food, let's come to food later. Other than food, what is it that engrosses, which activity engrosses people generally? Here, tell me.
Facebook.
Baseball?
Facebook.
Facebook. Now it is Facebook. What about soccer or baseball or something?
Music.
Music. Now I am talking about which you are so crazy about that when you are engrossed in that activity, you forget food and drink and sleep. Even the first love affair. Anything that engrosses you so much that you are not at all thinking, it could be even a project that you're very interested in, you're working in the office, right? At that time, if somebody says, hey, come on, let's go and have lunch, hey, come on, wait, don't even disturb me. Something, right? Or a game. In India, it is cricket. When it's cricket happening, then that's it. People forget food and drink and sleep. But now, since I'm in America, I can't take that example. You won't be fully with it. You get what I'm saying? Here also it is like that. But again, it's only Indians. So here I have a very mixed group. So I need to take an example that each one of you will have. Are you hearing what I'm saying here? So interested in that you do not think of food. That is, you are doing upavas with the TV or the game or the music, as Om said. Whatever you are engrossed in, you are doing upavas. Got it? You are not forcibly avoiding food and starving yourself for some purpose, but you are so much involved with God and singing His praises. Like if you think, now the past few days, those of you who have been hearing the Bhagavatham, isn't it like that? Tell me. You didn't think of bathroom, you didn't think of drinking water, you didn't think of anything. You were so engrossed with this. Yes? Right? If I continued for another couple of hours, it would be the same state. Yes or no? Raise your hands. Not because I'm saying it, because the story is like that. It is so engrossing that you are caught with it, you are doing upavas. Clear? So, these two, Ambarisha and his wife, every Ekadashi means the 11th day of the moon. Both the waxing moon and the waning moon. Every 15 days you will get that, right? You will get the 11th day. Now that day, why it is the 11th day? You have to sit again and do research. There is a lot of stuff on that. You can go Google and get it. And Ekadashi, that is the day which is very, very useful for us to do the upavas. Okay, in many ways. We are going to see the one of the main reasons why it is good to do the upavas on that day. They were very staunch. They would not drink water also, both husband and wife, the king and the queen, till the next day morning, 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, when the priest will say, you can break your fast. There will be a time period which will be told to them. At that time only they will break the fast. So, one such day, that is the second day, the 12th day, 11th day they kept their fast. Nothing happened. Everything was okay. 12th day, when they were about to break the fast, one of the very famous rishis, a great sage called Durvasa, known for his very short temper, came there and told him, look, oh, you also are breaking your fast. I'm also planning to break my fast. We'll do it together. But let me go to the river, bathe with my disciples. He has a lot of disciples, a very popular guru he was. So he had about 1,000 disciples accompanying him wherever he went. So he went, he said, I'll go have a dip in the river, bathe and come back. So you hold it till then. The king said, sure, please. I am very honored to have you, sir. Please join me. So the rishi went to the river, and when he went to the river, he got caught up with his meditation, etc. He did all the pranayamas, vinoma, viloma and all that, and he forgot time. So he was a little late. Now, it's very important that you break the fast at that particular time that the priest tells you to. So the Raja, the king, waited and he didn't come. So when the time was going to be over, he quickly took some water. He didn't eat anything. He just took some water in his hand and he sipped it. That's all he did, just to make a token breaking of the fast. Understood? Now the rishi walked in just at that moment. He saw him breaking the fast. How you broke the fast before? You didn't wait for me long? And he said, I'll curse you or something. He gave a curse to him. And by the way, all these things you must understand. Certain people do some things not because they are angry, but because they want the world to know something out of this. But the king did not get upset. He said, I'm really sorry, sir, but the time was getting over. That's why I broke the fast. But the rishi was not listening. He said, catch this curse. And the rishi, when he completed the curse, the Narayana's wheel, you know that wheel he has? The chakra we call it. It's by the way called Sudarshan chakra. Okay. So that wheel was always near this king, Ambarisha. Why? Because he was so devoted to Narayana, the wheel left Narayana and it was protecting Ambarisha. Because this rishi cursed the king, the wheel didn't wait for any instruction. It got angry and went straight for the neck of the rishi. And the rishi ran for his dear life. So he ran straight to Brahma, the creator. Hey, you created that Ambarisha. He sent the wheel after me, save me. And Brahma says, sorry, I have no power over the wheel. You have to go somewhere else. So he goes to Shiva. And Shiva also says, I don't know anything about this wheel. I didn't even know it had shifted from Narayana to Ambarisha. You're giving me news. I'm totally Facebooked out. So you better go to the original owner of this wheel, who is Narayana. So Durvasa now flew to Narayana. Narayana, save me, your wheel is chasing me, it's going to kill me. And Narayana said, I am so sorry, long ago this wheel has left me and changed parties. It has gone to Ambarisha. I have no power over it anymore. You have to go to Ambarisha itself. So the rishi comes running back to Ambarisha, falls at his feet, and as soon as he says, so sorry, king, the wheel quietly goes and settles down behind. He is saved. Durvasa is saved. The whole drama Durvasa did just to teach the people in the world that even a rishi cannot touch you. No enemy can harm you if you maintain the upavas during Ekadashi. And it is a fact. I have been, not because of Ambarisha's story, but since my college days, I have been maintaining the Ekadashi Vrata. And it is so amazing. Even people who, don't like you, don't, gossip behind you, it's actually they get more harmed than I do. So in fact, people who know me, just keep their mouth shut, Either they speak good of me or they keep mouth shut, because somehow, I think it is something to do with the upavas that I do, that it is. How many of you keep this vrat? Raise your hand. Nobody else is keeping it? You are? Have you felt this? That you're being protected? Yeah, isn't it? Oh, it's so obvious. You are totally protected. There are times I have goofed. I make mistakes. But yet I'm protected. Somehow the mistake is overlooked and I come out of it very, yeah? Isn't it? Oh yeah. It's amazing. I make mistakes, but the mistakes are all covered up. Somebody does, something is happening, and then I'm out of it. It's just like that. I'm saved all the time. I'm picked up and saved. Not all the time I make mistakes. Whenever I make the mistake, let me put it like that. Oh. It's really very good to keep that fast. Even our Guruji has said that Ekadashi fast is the upavas is good. So that is the story of him. And now we come to remember Kapila? Remember Devahuti's son? We spoke about it in the first day. Kapila walked off in the northwesterly direction, and I told you he landed in Kapilaranya. Okay, now we come to the other part of the story which says that he is in Kapilaranya. A king named Sagara, which literally means ocean. Never mind what it means. This king had cloned his son and created 60,000 sons. Cloning had happened even then. Even in Mahabharata, in the case of Gandhari, it was like she had a multiple fetus. What did you call it?
A callus.
Huh?
A callus, a lump.
A lump. And so she separated it all and put it in different jars, they say. Today we will call it test tubes. So you have test tube babies. So she put them in 100 test tubes or jars, and they all became 100 children for her, Kauravas. And here we have this cloning. You know why? He had his own house army. You have family, team, family. He had a family army. His 60,000 sons were his army. So, if you hire soldiers, They will be mercenaries, and anyone who pays more, they will shift to them. They'll move off, right? Whereas if you have your own sons, they'll be faithful to you. So it makes sense for a king to have 60,000 sons, which was his own army, private family army. So he decided to conduct the Ashwamedha Yajna, which means a horse would be allowed to freely walk wherever it wants, and whichever land it crosses, the country through which it passes, the king of that state or region or country should either allow the horse to pass through, which means he is owing allegiance to this emperor. Got it? To Sagara. If he obstructs the horse to pass through his country, he has to fight with this army which is following the horse. Is that clear? So the whole idea is, this is a good way for the king to declare he is an emperor of all the countries. So instead of going with the army and declaring war and fighting with everything, he just sends this horse. And the news will go around, anyone who dares to obstruct the horse's movement should pay with their lives. They have to fight. So when anybody sees 60,000 people marching with a horse, normally the smaller kings would just let go. So it was just passing through. But one day, every night they would tie the horse to a tree and go to sleep, because they need their sleep. The horse may not need sleep, but whole day walking with the horse was not a joke. So they would sleep. One day, the morning when they woke up, they found the horse missing. So they searched all over India. They couldn't find it. So they made a hole right through the earth, and they came up on the other side of the earth. And if you go home and check your globe, you will see that if you dig from India and go right across, not this way, but straight on like this, you will come on to Baja California. Or where California?
Yucatan.
Yucatan, okay. Little below Baja?
It's in Mexico.
Below Baja California.
No, it's more to the east.
East. Okay. So that's where they came up. And they continued the search. They searched and came up. Baja California, came to California. And in one meadow, they found the horse grazing. Ah, here is the horse. Actually, what had happened, Indra, the lord of the celestial beings, the heaven, he had taken the horse, fearing that Sagara will become more powerful than himself. So Indra had come, stolen it, and he lifted it off and put it here, in the horse meadow. By the way, there is a horse meadow near Sequoia Forest, where we all went on a pilgrimage. Okay, now what happened? Therefore, they looked around, searched quite a distance, and they saw nobody. But finally, after a lot of search, they found in a cave a man sitting and doing his penance. With his eyes closed, he was in deep meditation. So they said, he not only steals the horse, he pretends to be a holy man. Look at him sitting with his eyes closed, and all the 60,000 of them shouting, they went, running towards him to kill him. Excuse me. And what happened? The sound disturbed Kapila, who was sitting in the cave. And how many of you do any kind of meditation? Raise your hand. All right. When you are very deep meditation, are you able to open your eyes suddenly? Or do you take time to calm down, come to the body, awareness of the surrounding, then you are able to open? Otherwise it looks sealed, right? With energy. Yes, how many feel that? Now, this is only 20 minutes, half an hour meditation that we do. Can you imagine someone like Kapila who sits for meditation for days, weeks, months? What kind of energy would there be? Prana, Shakti in him. Can you imagine? You can't. I'll tell you what happened. The 60,000 people who came charging, oh, sound, you can imagine 60,000 people, how much it will be the shouting. I can't even imagine. I can't. That shout finally disturbed his dhyan, his meditation. So he suddenly opened his eyes, and what happened? The energy was so strong, it just burnt all the 60,000 suns into ashes. They were turned into ashes. 1 second they were human beings, next second they were just turned into ashes. Imagine 60,000 bodies turned into ashes. Will that be a mountain or not? Yeah? Okay. So there is also an ash mountain, a whole area called Ash Mountain, just around before you enter the Sequoia Park. You know where the Sequoia? You can look it up. The map is there. There is a whole area. I went and asked the forest ranger person whether there is one mountain which they call Ash Mountain. They said, no, this whole area is called, we don't know which one is Ash Mountain. The whole area is called Ash Mountain. Now what are the chances that you have Horse Meadow, and then you have Ash Mountain, and then you have a little village called Sagoro. A little further down you have another. You all see it in the map everywhere. Okay? So you want more proof that this is Kapilaranya? You can go looking for it. It would be interesting. You can tell us also. And it's believed that Kapila Muni is even now in meditation somewhere in that area. And all those trees, sequoia trees, amazing. If you go there and sit, you don't need to meditate. The trees will help you meditate. Even if you talk, it will make you meditate. It's that gorgeous. How many have been there? Isn't it? Don't you agree? Now go. Now go with this purpose and go look for the Ash Mountain. Alright, that is the story of Sagara and his sons. Now, they were all burnt. Naturally, the father is waiting for the horse and his 60,000 sons. Neither horse nor the sons turn up. So he waits and he becomes old and he dies. No Ashwamedha Yajna was done. That he couldn't complete that Yajna because the horse didn't turn up. But the children of these 60,000 sons, one of them went out to look for them. Hey, they went, my parents, all the uncles, everybody went, where they are not there. So he went looking and he located this tunnel, went there and reached this place. And he saw that they were all burnt to ashes, and he asked Kapila, who was sitting nearby, "Sir, can you please tell me what happened to my relatives, uncles and father?" So he said, "Sorry son, but this was an accident. They came to harm me. They shouted, I opened my eyes, they burnt into ashes. So I'm sorry about that." So he says, "Sir, can you help me? How I can..." Now, in India, there is though we cremate the bodies, the son has to do some rituals to help the soul to go on in its journey. Otherwise, it hangs around in the world and troubles people. So that is what the belief is. So the son said, "How can I help now these people to attain that they can peacefully move on in their next life?" So Kapila says, "You have to bring the water of Ganges, the Ganga water." "But sir, Ganga is not in the earth, it is in the heavens." In those days, it was in the heavens. "So what do I do?" He says, "Don't worry, you go and pray and ask Ganga to come down, and then you can bring the water here." So this fellow goes back and says, "We have to bring down Ganga." By the time he has become old, he dies. Then his son prays for Ganga, but by the time the Ganga hears it and comes, this boy fellow also dies. Then his son, Bhagirath, finally succeeds in getting Ganga to give an answer. So Ganga says from the skies, I can come for you because you're requesting me, but I am so powerful that if I come raining down from the heaven, and gush down, I will wash away the earth. I'm that powerful. So you have to make some arrangement that this doesn't happen. So he now goes and does some more penance. Okay, so he stands up there on the Himalayas and Ganga starts coming down with all her force. And it is said that she became arrogant, that she is so forceful. Who is there that can take me? And she comes down with all her energy. And Shiva, just to teach her a lesson, he quickly just collects her in his hair and doesn't allow her to go out after that. So she's caught in his matted locks. Now poor Bhagirath is now not having Ganga. He's already prayed once to Ganga, now to Shiva, and now again third time he says, Shivji, please let me have some Ganga. I have to take it across to Kapilaranya to save my ancestors. So then Shiva, out of pity for Bhagirath, just opens a little lock like this and out pours just a little trickle stream of Ganga. So the Ganga that you have right now, coming from Gangotri and going along, the Ganga which you now see is only a trickle from Shiva's head. And those of you who have experienced Ganga, I'm not going to say. Those who haven't, again I won't say, go and experience it. Then only you'll know. However much I will say, it will be a concept for you. It's something you have to experience. Not by words will you ever understand what it is. It is magical. This much I can say. It is magical. You must go there once, and 3 times you should go dip right into it. Like go put your head right in and come out 3 times. Then only it is magical. You just put weight there with your feet and come, then nothing was magical. Yeah, it won't be. But if you 3 times dip into it fully, you will know the magic of Ganga. How many people agree with me? I don't know what it is, but it is so. Anyway, so finally the trickle comes. So he walks ahead, she is following behind, like very playfully. And at one particular place, there is a rishi who is sitting in meditation. And Ganga, in her playful way, she goes and wets him. And Ganga is pretty chill. She comes from the Himalayas. She is the melted glaciers of the Himalayas. So it's very chill. She's very chill. Amazing. She numbs the skin when you get in. But then after that, you don't want to come out. Something about her. So amazing. So she wet him and he was like angry and he just sipped her up. So again she vanished into this Janva Rishi. And Bhagirath again, oh please sir, I want this water, I'm taking her there, kindly give me. Again he prayed and find the Rishi, out of pity for Bhagirath, then just opened out a little space through his ear and again Ganga came out, and that is why she gets the name Janvi. And then she flows again, and further there is no problem. He brings her across to Kapilaranya. By the way, there is a river flowing near the Ash Mountain. And there he takes the Ganga there and sprinkles it over his ancestors, and the story is their souls are saved. That is what people believe, and so this was done. This Bhagirath, effort of Bhagirath is so famous that it has become a common phrase in India and wherever Indians are, that whenever you struggle and struggle for a project or something, it's called Bhagirath Prayattanam. The effort of Bhagirath. Repeatedly he had to work on this Ganga project. So it's called Bhagirath Prayattana. Prayattana means effort upon effort upon effort. Not Shreyas, not coming on its own. It's a Prayattana. So Ganga didn't come on her own. She came because of the efforts of one man called Bhagirathan. The next avatar is that of Rama, Sri Rama. The Ramayana, if people don't know it, those of you who don't know Ramayana, again Google and read the whole story. It's a beautiful story. It's the oldest epic poem we have in the world. It is the oldest epic poem. I am not going into the story of Rama, except I want to say two things about it. One is, Rama is that which is shining within you, that which is brilliant within you, that which you feel sometimes, wow. Sometimes you feel that or not. For no reason you are somewhere and then, wow, I feel so good. That feeling good feeling is called Ramata. Jo, the Guruji says, जो तो तुम्हारा अंदर जो रमता है वो राम है. That which brilliantly shines within you is Ram. Now, the other factor I wish to talk about is my first visit to California was 94. And there was this young girl, an American girl, who had adopted me as her mom. She was studying in a college, Foothill College, and they had one of their subjects was world religion. World religion, there is a subject like that? Okay, I got it correctly this time. There was a subject they had some credits they had to cover for that also. And this book had all the world religions in it, chapters, little bits and pieces from the scriptures. And it had Hindu philosophy, and the subject they had was Kathopanishad. What it is, one day if you are all interested, we can do it next time I come, when I come, inshallah. So that Kathopanishad, there was just a little bit of it, and she said, why don't you come and give us a class on this, because we have nobody to come and teach us Hindu philosophy. I said okay, and Meenakshi, me and Lisa, we went to the college. And that day, after the talk was over, we took questions, and there were questions. And then one professor who was also attending, quite a few professors were there because they also felt they had nobody to give the Hindu philosophy, they were eager to know it. So one of them, he said, I'm not asking a question from this topic, so can I ask from another topic? I said, okay, if I know it, I'll answer. So he said, this is about Ramayana, he said. I said, go ahead, what is it? And he said, Rama, why is he considered a god? If he is a god, why did he send his wife Sita to the forest when she was pregnant? So two questions he asked me. So the first question is, why is he a god to you people in India? So the first question is simply this. Why is Maradona a god to many people who are sports enthusiasts? And how do you define a god as far as humans are concerned? Someone you admire very much, yes? Yes or no? Someone whom you want to be like, but it seems impossible for you to be. Yes? Something in that person, some achievement they have, which you want to emulate, but you find it so difficult, and then even somebody tells me, oh, how do you get up every day at 4:30? Oh, Raji ma, you're great. You understand? I become great because I get up at 4:30. So all that you have to do is to become great is to get up at 4:30. There you are. You get what I'm saying? So something you, not one, two, many qualities you admire in someone so much, and all the more you admire because you are not able to do this. That person becomes worthy of worship from you. Yes or no? Isn't it? That's why Maradona, how can he, who can kick like him? Like Pele, who can kick like him? They keep trying every day and they can't do what he can do. Right? So they admire somebody that becomes a godly person for them. Is that clear? They put up posters, they kiss it, they carry the picture around with them, and every time a Maradona lover will kiss it before he kicks a ball. You see it every day, go and watch matches. Isn't it true? So that is how Rama became. What is so great about Rama? Rama did a great sacrifice that you and I normally cannot even, we are not even ready to give our favorite dress or our favorite, jewel or a toy or something. My teddy bear, it's so sentimental, I have been keeping it from I can't give that. You ask some other thing I can give you. Isn't this what we say? Yes? So we are so attached to our little things. So, can you imagine? This man, Rama, gave up his kingdom. He was the rightful heir to that throne. And the story says that when the stepmother told him, your father has fainted because he was upset that I took a promise from him long ago. Now I want the promise that you should go away to the forest for 14 years and this kingdom has to be given to your younger brother. And he had a beautiful smile on his lips when he came to greet his stepmother. And the story says that the smile even did not change. His face did not become long. Go to the forest? No. He didn't argue with her. Oh, I don't know, it's not my father's words, my father has fainted, so how do I know you are telling the right thing? I'm going to sue you, I'll take you to court. No, Rama didn't do anything like that. He didn't do anything intelligent like that. He was so foolish. Stupidly, he just said, with the same beautiful smile, he said, yes, mother, if you say so. Even my father need not say, if you have said it, it is good enough for me. And he walks off immediately. That is one of the reasons. There are more, and I have to tell you the whole story then, but I have to catch up with so many more stories. I can go on with Ramayana for 2 days, minimum.
No, there are people who do Sapthaah.
They do 7 days just Ramayana alone. So perhaps someday we'll do that. But right now I am on Bhagavatham, so I would like to race on. Okay? Yes?
Yes.
So the next question was, why did he send his wife to the forest? So since he was an intellectual academician, the answer came like that for him. How the next answer came. I don't say I replied, I say the answer came. Don't ask me from where, I too don't know. I wish I know. Because many people ask me, how do you answer all questions? If I know the source, I can straight away connect you to that. But I don't know. Anyway, the epic poems, like all poems, have a particular structure. Any poetry, a different form. There are different forms of poetry. You know that, right? Lyric poems, ballads. There are many odes, sonnets, epics, different varieties of poetry. In all literature, any language literature has different styles of poetry. So the epic poem has a characteristic. One of the characteristics is, before the main poem is written, the poet has to write a summary, or what you call in your thesis, abstract. You first write the abstract, isn't it? A summary of what you are. You set forth the objectives of your thesis. So the epic poem has a summary before the main poem starts. In that, the objective of what he is going to write about, like Milton writes in Paradise Lost, I am going to write about what man has made of man and what was lost by man in Paradise Lost. He gives a prologue before the main poem. Like that, Ramayana, the original Ramayana written by Valmiki, has a summary called Samkshepa Ramayana, meaning summary of Ramayana. And in that, the Narada asks Valmiki, do you know of a man who has the following qualities? Konvasmin sampratam loke gunavan kascha viryavan, one who has all the good qualities of a good man. Kascha viryavan, one who is very courageous, brave, who just walked off, gave up his kingdom and could bravely go into the forest. For 14 years he lived in the forest. Viryavan dharmajnascha kritajnascha, dharma, he stood for dharma. Whatever may happen, he stood for dharma. And that is why he is now going to send his wife away. Why? He has to establish dharma. Dharmajnascha kritajnascha, is always grateful. He is always so nice to everybody. For little things he is grateful. He may be a king, but he was grateful. Kritajnascha satyavakyo dridhavritaha. Once he gave his word, that's it. Okamata, okabana. One wife, one arrow. One arrow if he sends, that's it. It never fails. Like that. He is satyavakyo dridhavritaha. Once he took a decision, nobody could change him. Bharata, his brother, comes and begs him, please come back and take the kingdom. I don't want the kingdom. You are the only one who has to come and do it. But he says, no brother, I cannot come. My mother has told me I must do it. I have to do it. And dridhavritaha, charitrena chako yuktaha, sarvabhuteshu kohitaha, vidvan kaha kasavartascha, kaschaika priyadarshanaha. Like this you have many qualities. So, in those qualities, do you know of a man who does this, is the question by Narada. And he never asked, do you know, he asked of a good son, the best son in the world, Rama. Greatest administrator, Rama. One best brother, Rama. Right? But he never asked the best husband. So Valmiki was not obliged to write about it. 1. 2, the second reason, which is more, this was for joke. The real one is, a king has to set an example at any cost. You know, as a student, when we went to college or school, there were times you may have gone late, you may have cut class, not attended all the classes. Yes? Home? Yeah? Yeah. But then now as teacher, do you cut classes?
No.
There you go. You cannot afford to, isn't it? Yes? And so much so your friends will say, hey, what happened to you? You have changed. Oh yeah, I've changed. What to do? Isn't it? Yeah? And now they think he's a bore, right? He is not cool anymore because he doesn't know to cut classes. We cannot do that. Responsibility. Isn't it? So as a king, he could not afford to hear even one murmur in any corner of his kingdom when another guy, an ordinary, a launderer, one who launders clothes for others, a laundromat guy, whatever, he was telling somebody, I am not like a king, I am not a king that I can take my wife. His wife is supposed to have strayed somewhere or somebody took her away. And he says, I cannot take her back again the way Rama took his wife Sita because she was captivated by Not captivated. She was captured by, captured by a villain, Ravana, who took her away and kept her with him for 10 months. And then only Rama goes, fights, kills him and brings her back. So I cannot afford to be like the king because he can do anything, people won't say anything, but I am an ordinary launderer, an ordinary fellow who washes clothes, others people's clothes. So I cannot do that. I have to live in my little community. People won't accept it, so I cannot do this. He overheard this, and because he cannot afford to have loose morals in his kingdom, though he knew his wife was chaste, he had to send her away. And it was more painful for him than for any one of you. So don't worry why he sent his wife away to the forest. Is that clear? And because I find many people, even in the Indians, are little troubled about this episode. How many were? Not anymore. Oh, after I've told you, you cannot be, right? Understood? Yeah? Are you cleared now? Okay, because Rama is Rama, whatever it is. And this is what I always, in this chapter, I prefer telling you this because the story you can get even from internet. There may be little mistakes, but you can still get it. So this is the Surya Vamsha, the lineage that comes from the sun. Now we go to the lineage of the moon, Chandra Vamsa. There you have Pururavas and next Parashurama. Parashurama, again, he was a Brahmin, but he was angered with the despotism and tyranny of the Kshatriyas. Kshatriyas, I told you about all this. Kshatriya, Brahmana, yeah? Who is a Kshatriya? Who is interested in administration, ruling the country, the kings or whoever it is who's ruling, administering. These are the Kshatriyas. Now what happens, we are seeing it even today, everywhere. Those who get this power of ruling something, administering, they take on too much, and what do? They become corrupt and then they spoil the country. So whenever they were doing this kind of thing, Parashurama would go and fight with them and kill those kings who were doing adharma. He would just go and chop off their heads, whatever. He would fight and he would kill them. So he was needed. This avatara again was needed at that time because the normal ordinary people were afraid of the rulers. Okay? So they needed someone to defy them and tell them what you're doing is wrong. And when they didn't listen, the only language they understood was fighting and killing. Have you noticed? Sometimes you can't argue with a person who's using a sword or a gun. You can't be telling him, Gita, listen, close your eyes, take a deep breath in and breathe out. When Russia was being torn apart and it was, it was broken into pieces, our teachers have gone there to teach at the army, where the army was posted on the borders. And there is a teacher called Scott who used to go to Azerbaijan and all those places, Siberia, I don't know where, I don't even know those places properly. Anyway, he used to go there to teach. And he says that in the tent, where the soldiers were all staying, in the tent, he would go in and teach. And they would come with their Kalashnikovs. Whatever, you know that. They would keep those huge guns with them. And he would say, we leave your shoes and your guns outside and come in for the class. They wouldn't. They would leave their shoes behind, but they would not leave their guns behind. So they would come and they would not close their eyes. If you told them to close their eyes and start the breathing, they will not. They will be looking straight at him, or whether they were, whether he would take a gun and shoot them or something. I don't know what. So they would keep their eyes open, and he had to call Guruji and ask, is it okay? He says, never mind, give them the kriya. So with the gun. First day, you were taught the pranayama, so they had to keep the gun, they kept it on the lap, and they had to do like this, And in those days, it was third day only kriya. First 2 days we teach the pranayamas, third day, fourth day only long kriya. So the first day, it was just Ujjayi breathing, and also they kept the handgun like this only, and they breathed in Ujjayi. Second day, they were willing to keep it on the lap and do the 3-stage pranayama, bastrika. In between for rest period, they'll hold the gun. Because they get used to it also. Without it, they feel lost. You can imagine, right? And then the third day only, they were willing to keep the gun along the wall and come and sit down and breathe. In between, some of them would check whether the guns were there. Parashurama had to check the despotism that was there amongst the rulers. That was his job. And there is a story also of how he went home one day. His father was angry with his mother because she happened to just see when she went to get water from the river, she saw this Gandharva, celestial being flying over, and she saw the reflection of the water, and for a second she thought he was very handsome. This is all she thought. She didn't say, I want you or something. She just felt that he was very handsome. And this news had, her husband happened to know by his powers, and when she walked in, he told his sons, he had 3 sons, he said, chop off your mother's head. And then the elder 2 brothers refused. They said, no, we won't do it. But Parashurama said, I will, and he chopped off his mother's head. And the father was very pleased. So he said, okay, son, you have pleased my heart. The other 2 fellows have hurt me. So now ask anything you want. He says, Dad, first bring back my mom. See, Parashurama was and he knew his father would bring back his mother. Actually, this story was done to show the power of these rishis. They could do anything. They could destroy, they could bring back to life. That is why they would destroy if necessary, only when it is necessary, because they also had the capacity to bring back. So, we start glibly saying, oh, if he can kill, I can also kill. You can kill when you know how to bring them back to life. That day you can kill. When you can create a cell, when you can bring back a human being or an animal, then you can kill. Got it? Next story is that of Vishwamitra. How much time do I have? Because I have to move on to the birth of Krishna. Good. Vishwamitra. This story is going to tell us about how any one of us here in this room or anywhere in the world can get powers to do anything. Anything. Tell me anything. You can do it. You can achieve anything. There are things that you can do, some prayers, mantras, special meditations, special pujas. You can acquire powers which are called siddhis in Sanskrit. You can acquire them and you can manifest anything, anytime, anywhere. Like you want an elephant in this room, it can come. You can manifest it. It's a fact. It can happen. But this is where the catch is. If you do those things, you will have to pay a heavy price. Because that responsibility, now it comes and crashes right through the floor, all of us land down on the ground and, you have to repair, you have to do the insurance, everything for Niru then. Then you can do that. Before you manifest, you have to know the consequences, and accordingly only you should function. Are you getting this? Simply because I have to show my power, I start showing it. Then two things happen. I have to pay for the what I've done. Secondly, I lose all the powers that I have acquired. Like you have a good bank balance and then it all goes in buying the elephant. Like that. I have to work again to save again. So I have to do more prayers. This is the story of this Vishwamitra or Kaushika as he was called. He was a king. But one day when he went hunting, he with his huge retinue, it was late afternoon, he was suddenly very hungry and tired. So he looked for a place to rest and have some food. He saw this hermitage. This hermitage belonged to Vasishta. Remember the one who got the Kamadhenu? From the churning process, he got the Kamadhenu. So Vishwamitra goes to this hermitage and asks Vasishta, please sir, we are all very tired. I have a huge retinue. I could compensate for you somehow, but I feel bad to even say that because even now in India, we are very foolish. People come for food, we don't charge them for it. We give them food. I don't know what it is, but it is something funny. But we keep doing this. It's weird, but we do it. And we just keep, when somebody asks for food, we never ask them to pay for it. It's always given. We share whatever we have. Now, so Vasishta says, don't worry, I can get you in a trice. Like he just, like even if he could just snap his hand, there was a feast laid out for the king and his retinue. So the king was like, wow, how did you do that? And Vasishta says, oh no sir, I have this cow. It's called Kamadhenu. And anything I tell her, she will give me, produce for me. And the king says, wow, you know, actually, you are just a hermit. What do you need? You don't need all this. And even if you need, you tell me whenever I can send it to you. But I'm a king. I have, you know, foreign ambassadors, diplomats visiting me very often. I have huge people, lots of people coming, and I have a big retinue to maintain. So this cow will be very useful for me. Can you please give it to me? And the rishi said, sorry sir, I can't give it to you. Oh, why can't you give it to me? No, sir, if you wish, but you want to go and ask her yourself. If she will come, you can take her. So the king just sends a couple of his servants and says, go ask, get the cow. So these two go and they said, what nonsense, asking a cow to come and all that rubbish. And they just she's not even tied, you know, she doesn't even have a rope around her neck. She's just a free person. So they go and they put a rope around her neck and tried to drag her. They couldn't move her an inch. So they take more men and 100 people go and pull her. They could not move her. So they go and report to the king, sorry sir, even 100 people couldn't. What nonsense, you can't move a cow. What nonsense. Go and get her. And so he sends an army to go fight and kill her. Capture her and bring her. And he doesn't want her killed, no, he wants the whole cow. So he sends this huge army and she produces a parallel army and finishes off his army. Now he is like, So he goes and bows before the rishi, Vasishta, and says, sir, please tell me how you acquired this cow. Point number one, the rishi could have used this cow to make jewelry, to make a palace for him and, eat every day. He could have eaten gulab jamun and pizza and all that. No, he never used it for that. Only when it was absolutely necessary, like this, the king had come with a retinue and an emergencies only he used. Now, first of all, you have to have that kind of control in your power. To use your powers only for emergencies, for the larger good, not for your own purpose. Anyway, he says, you go and do meditations and pranayamas, then you will get, perhaps you may have these powers. So immediately Vishwamitra goes and just hands over his kingdom to the ministers. He says, run the kingdom somehow. I have to acquire these powers. So he goes and starts doing tapas. penance, heavy penance. And he starts acquiring many powers. But what happened was, every time he would do this, something would happen and he will feel challenged and he will use his powers, he'll get empty of his powers, he has to go pray again. What happened once, Trishanku, a king, came to him and said, "Sir, I went to many spiritual people, but they would not, I want to go to heaven with my body. So I went and asked many of these Swamis and Swamijis and Rishis to help me do this. They all said, no. Either they said it's not possible or they said they won't do it and I must do this. So I'll give you anything, I'll give you my kingdom, but you must make me do this." Now, Vishwamitra was very tempted. Why? Because it was a challenge. Others could not do it, I can do it. I will show it to you. So he said, "Who said that? I will send you. Now go." He sends a mantra and sends him flying to the heavens. So Trishanku goes, and from here Vishwamitra is watching to make sure he gets into heaven. And there, when he enters the gates, he is prevented from coming. The celestial beings there push him down and say, "Nothing doing, nobody can come here with the body, you have to give up your body and come." So they push him down and Trishanku starts falling. And he says, "Oh, Kaushika, Vishwamitra, save me." And from here, Vishwamitra says, "How dare they push you out? I will create a satellite world for you and I'll keep you there." So he makes a satellite world and props up Trishanku there. And even today they say Trishanku is hanging there, neither on earth nor in heaven, but in the Trishanku state. So when you are neither here nor there, you will understand you are in Trishanku state. Now in the process he lost all his powers, so he had to go back and pray again. And he also wanted one more thing. He wanted the title of Brahma Rishi, which Vasishta had. And he wanted that title given to him by Vasishta. All other rishis were willing to grant him. "Okay, you are Brahma Rishi, leave us alone, Baba." But Vishwamitra didn't want it just from anybody. He wanted it from the mouth of Vasishta. So he would continue to keep doing and Karanam, "Now am I Brahma Rishi?" And Vasishta will say, "Not yet." He wouldn't ever give him the title. So once when he was doing a lot of this tapas, Indra got a little afraid. Indra is the one who gets upset when somebody does very deep thing, whether he will work for his position. Indra is permanently afraid that his chair will be taken away from him. So he got worried. This Vishwamitra, if he goes at this rate, he will land up on my throne. So he sends one of his celestial dancers, Menaka, to go and entice him away from his tapas. You will notice whenever you do your practices, there will be always the smell of samosa coming. Or you will hear somebody talk something. What is she talking? She says a party today. I would like to be there. My wife will be telling, no, he's got a course today, he can't come. No, please tell him to wait. I can send another teacher and I will come. So, Menaka is sent to entice Vishwamitra and she succeeds. She is known for that. It's a job. She does it 100%. She won. See, when you do your job 100%, you do whatever. Her task she does very well. Okay, so she succeeded in enticing him, so he had to open her eyes. He saw her and he fell in love with her, lived with her, got a baby called Shakuntala, a beautiful baby girl. And once the baby was born, he said, "Oh my God, what did I do?" That's when people all get enlightened. So he says, "Oh my God, I lost all my powers. I have to go back and do my puja again." Again he goes into it. And the Menaka succeeded in destroying his penance. So she also leaves the baby high and dry. Both of them leave it in the forest and they push off. Of course, she being the mother, she hands it over to a rishi called Kanva. Kanva Muni, and she vanishes. So this girl is being fostered by Kanva, and there she is growing there beautifully, and when she's a young girl of 16, 17, she is observed by a king, Dushyanta, who comes there for the forest to hunt, sees her, falls in love with her. They both have a Gandharva marriage and they live together, and then when he is living with her and even given her a baby, his minister comes running, locates him and says, sir, we have great emergency in some place, there is a big quarrel, I fight, somebody is challenging you, you have to run immediately. So he quickly leaves in a hurry, and she says, oh, what will I do? And then she says, don't worry, I'll give you a ring. He gives a ring to her, and she's already pregnant with his child, and he runs away. And a little later, Durvasa comes. She is so pining for her lover when she doesn't pay attention to Durvasa. So Durvasa curses her and says, the one you are thinking of will forget you. And then her maids go and beg his forgiveness. And then she also says, I'm so sorry, sir. He says, okay. Has he given you anything? Yes, he has given me a ring. Okay, when you show the ring, he will remember you. So the parents, Kanva and his wife, recognize that she is pregnant and she now has to be sent back to her husband. So they say, the wife says to the husband, she has to go. He says, okay, let's pack her up and leave. She can go tomorrow. She says, nonsense, she can't just go like this. She needs a trousseau. Any woman needs a trousseau to go to her husband's house, bridegroom's house. Now she is a princess. She is going to marry a king. She is going to be the queen. So you have to give really wonderful things, silks and jewelry and all that. So the Rishi said, oh, is that so? Okay. And so he says a mantra, and the story goes that all trees and plants, started giving him silks and jewelry and all that. Trees and plants don't give, we know that. What the story means is, how many of you have done this? You go sometimes to a shop and then you see something and you remember some friend of 20 years or 10 years or 5 years and says, hey, this would look good on Rekha. Don't you say that? And you pick it up, right? And then you send it to her and she says, hey, how did you know? I really wanted exactly this. Has it happened? How many people? So not tree and plant, it is you and me who think of something, it's connecting. Something from this is Shreyas. You don't have to go and buy it. You think of it, and when you definitely need it, somebody will go and buy it and give it to you. That is how people came, and when they came, they brought gifts like a bridal shower. They brought and gave it to her. So poetically it is said that he did a mantra and trees and plants gave it. Not trees and plants, it was a bridal shower. Okay? But the right things come because of the effect of the mantra. Got it? Now, see again this Rishi, he could have decked his wife in the bargain, he could have decked his wife also, with the jewels, and he had the mantra always. But he never used it. Got it? He used it now specifically because his daughter is going to become the wife of a king. Got it? So she goes there. On the way, it takes 2-3 days journey by foot. So she had in between a river, she took a dip, her ring got lost in the river, a fish swallowed it, and she didn't know. She went to the king and said, I'm your wife, and he doesn't remember her because of the curse of the Rishi. And she cries and says, here is the son. By the time the son had been born, Bharata. No. It is not until she's pregnant. Okay. Later on she goes to the forest and gets the king. Okay. The son. So she's pregnant. He says, I'm your wife. But the Raja doesn't recognize her. He sends her away and she's so ashamed and upset. And she walks off. And after she goes away to the forest to stay with another Rishi, the fish is caught, which had swallowed her ring. It was in the kitchen in the royal kitchen. They find the signet ring inside the fish. The cook comes and gives it to the king. When he sees the ring, he remembers Shakuntala. Oh, that is that woman. She's my wife. And he goes, looks for her, and there she is in the forest with his. And by that time, the child had been born. And then he actually meets the son first, and then he wants to know who his mother is. Then he meets his wife, but she refuses to. She comes back. She comes back, yes. And they live happily ever after with the son, and the son becomes the king later on. This is amazingly written by another poet, Kalidasa, and it is one of the best poetic stories ever told. It's in Sanskrit, and the Shakuntalam is an amazing, amazing poetry. Well, now we go to the Ganga and we now go to Ganga and the Vasus, the Yadava line. We come to the Yadava line. Yes. There is a king, Ugrasena, ruling Mathura, and he had a son who became a despot, who was a despot, and he thought his father he was impatient with his father's goodness, and he thought the father was foolish by not, being aggressive and being, doing wrong things to get a lot of more money and more countries, annexing countries, etc. So he said, "Dad, are you going to do something or shall I do something?" And the dad was trying to give him advice. No, you can't do this. We shouldn't be adharma. We should be with dharma, etc. But the son did not listen. He just threw the father into prison like Aurangzeb did. And he usurped the throne, and he started playing around. And he said, my father is such a foolish guy. He doesn't know how to run the business. I know how to do it. And he started doing very despotic acts, being cruel, and always supporters for such people, because you can also do wrong things and enjoy and have a lot of money. So there he had a lot of supporters, and he was doing this. Adharma was rampant everywhere. He had a cousin sister, Devaki, and curiously, if at all he was anything fond of anybody or anything, it was this girl named Devaki. He had a soft spot for her, and he wanted to get her married to a good person, and he selected a bridegroom for him, and that was Vasudeva. He was in his court, and Vasudeva was already married to Rohini, and they were living in Gokula, and Vasudeva was commuting every day to come to the court to work. Yeah. And he was such a good man, very mild and timid and all. So he thought, okay, for Devaki, this is the right person, he'll keep quiet and all and take care of my sister. So he asked Vasudeva, would you please marry my daughter? It was not a question, it was actually a command. And therefore, Vasudeva also knew Devaki was a very good woman, a nice girl. So he agrees. And in those days, a man could marry more than one wife. So Rohini agrees, and they get married. And Kamsa decided that day to show his subjects that he can also be now and then nice. So he said, I will drive the chariot when the bride and bridegroom will be taken around the whole town, so that the common people can see the bride, the couple. Because they can't come for the wedding into the palace. So after the wedding, they would be taken on a procession. Bharat, we say. So they were taken around, and Kamsa, he himself says, he tells the charioteer, today I am going to drive the chariot, I have to go take them. He wanted to show off to all his subjects that he's a good man after all. So he was doing that. Halfway through the city, there is this divine voice which says, hey you Kamsa, you fool, the person you are driving around, her 8th child is going to be your death. Notice the words are not will kill you, the words are he will be your death. Kamsa stands for ego. And the 8th child of Devaki, the Lord, is the death of anybody's ego. Why only Kamsa? Okay. So he said, the voice says, the 8th child of this woman is going to be your death. Kamsa immediately jumps from the chariot, draws his sword, drags Devaki from the chariot by her hair and is about to chop her head off. Only if she lives, the 8th child will come. Or if he dies, where is the 8th child? And I am safe, he says. So he goes to chop her off when Vasudeva stops him and says, please king, remember, you are in front of all the... He's one of the ministers, no advisors for him. So he says, if you do this in front of the public, you will lose your, any little thing left, you will lose your credibility with the public. So for heaven's sake, don't do this. Let us talk about it. It's going to be her 8th child, no? We will give you that 8th child. You killed the 8th child. Why are you now killing her? So he, and I told you, Kamsa, people who are adharma. So he says, okay, all right. And so he takes them inside. And of course the ministers then advise him, you know, it's not safe, you better put them in prison. And from there we'll have a good check on them. You know, otherwise they said smuggle out a baby or something, what will you do? So put them in prison. So he puts them in prison and he waiting for the each child to come so that the 8th child he can straight away kill. While he's waiting, Narada comes and tells Kamsa, hello Kamsa, how are you doing? Yeah, I'm fine. What's about your sister Devaki? What's the latest news? Oh, yeah, she's pregnant. I'm waiting. But anyway, it's only the 1st child. When the 8th child comes, I will deal with it. Oh, you know, Kamsa, Railers recently went for a course. You know, there they taught us something. You know what? He took a paper and a pen. And paper, pen, they didn't have something else, whatever, some writing material. And he drew a circle. And he said, look, like the clock, supposing I start from here, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Fine. Suppose you start counting from number 2. Then which is the 8th number? Which one? If I start from 2, which will be number 8? 1. Isn't it?
No.
Number 1 will become 8. If I start from 2, 1 will become 8. If I start from 3, 2 will become 8. So how do you know which one? Oh my God. Yeah, why didn't I think of it? Thank you, Narada. Very much. So brilliant of you. Okay, I am ready. And Narada leaves. Now why would Narada do this?
To fill the cup.
The cup has to fill up. So that when Krishna does the final killing, nobody can say he could have waited a little more. What is the hurry? Poor thing, why should you give him capital punishment? We'll wait. We never, people say that, right? So to make sure that happens, when Narada comes and says, also there is another background story to these 6 children. They were Vasus, they had done some mistake, I'm not going into those detailed story, and they were cursed to come and be born as human beings. And they begged God, they said, all right, we will come as human beings, but please, as soon, just leave her alone. The more you make a fuss, you are the one who are distracting me, not the children. See? Watch. Okay, thank God it's not.
There is one more CD.
That's it. You're not even hurt. This is the amazing. How it works, huh? So amazing. Nothing else is hurt, only the ego. I felt everybody is laughing. So they had said, as soon as we were born, please kill us somehow so that we'll be relieved of this birth business. So that is why these were the 6 Vasus who came to be born to Devaki. So Narada had to come and tell this to Kamsa. And Kamsa, as soon as he heard news that the first child was born, he would just walk in, take the baby, dash it against the wall of the, thank God no children are here, and they would dash it against the wall of the prison and it would be dead, and then he would go away. So, and with Devaki, periodically, every 10th month, 11th month, she would produce a child. 6 children were killed that way. She was expecting the 7th baby. When regularly, the other wife of Vasudeva would come from Gokul to visit. You know, you can go visit prisoners, right? She was allowed to visit because he was the wife of Vasudeva. She would come, and this time, because of 6 babies gone, she had already done a lot of research, and she had been given the instructions by a doctor how to do fetal transplant. So she goes into prison and she does the fetal transplant, transplants the fetus of Devaki into her own body, and that is how she smuggled the 7th child out, and that is Balarama. That's why he is the elder brother of Krishna. And then he gets the news that the 7th child was miscarried because suddenly she was not pregnant anymore. So he thought she had a miscarriage. Then the 8th time she is pregnant and he cannot sleep any longer. Kamsa cannot sleep. He is thinking the 8th child is coming. The 8th child is going to kill me. And night and day he is so turning and tossing. And then comes the night, one midnight, Ashtami, 8th day of the waxing moon, waning, when it is going down. Krishna Ashtami, the darkest time of the moon, when it is waning. Midnight, 12 o'clock, background music of thunder and lightning, it's pouring heavily. All the people in the town have run inside the house and locked themselves in because it's pouring cats and dogs. So the streets are all empty. And right in the middle of night, 12 o'clock, the baby is born. And he is born in all his glory as the Lord, with 4 hands, with yellow silk, pitambara, kundala, makara kundala, kaustubha, Srivatsa mark. What it is we are going to see later on. Chang Chakra Gada Dhari, in all his glory, the blueness, as he was, lying in the Ksheera, he is born as this little child. And both parents are worshipping him, and the Lord talks to Devaki. Devaki, you are a wonderful woman. The previous birth, you had begged me to be, you were such a good person, you were praying so much, I came to you one day and I asked you, ask for anything you want, ask for a boon. And you said, I want you to be born as my son. You didn't ask me for liberation, for knowledge. You asked me for me to be born. So here I am, I'm born, but that is all I can do. I'm not going to be with you now. Now my dad has to take me to Gokul. I can't be here because it is not safe for me right now. So watch what you ask for. You ask for a son. Like even Hiranyakashipu, he had many boons, but still something could happen. So we don't even know what to ask for. That's why we don't ask. We allow God to give whatever He wants. Otherwise we ask and then we, see what happened to Devaki. She did give birth to Krishna, but she had to part from him immediately. So let us learn this lesson along with what is happening. And then of course he comes back to his original form, that is an ordinary human being. From his original form, he becomes an ordinary child, but he is a very dark-looking child. Megha-shyam, rain-bearing clouds, the color of rain-bearing clouds. If you saw those clouds, they are very grey, right? And that is the color of Krishna. And that is the child who is born on Krishna Ashtami. And in the darkness of our hearts, in the secret place of our heart, is born the divine. When you live a life that is pure and innocent and beautiful, when you can drop your ego and function in the world, even though you may be vulnerable, but inside you will be born the divine. Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Naivedyam, please. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.